Hi. It is very difficult to trace the relationship between Earth and human. In the process to becoming human, Earth is most important figure of the act of taking shelter, making and manifesting. The first examples of art, the basics of the concept of shelter and home is always linked to Earth. In the aspect, Earth sometimes has been a tool and sometimes has been a direct goal in struggle for human immortality. When looking at the Earth, one must have always felt how temporary oneself is. Earth, which has a place that perhaps no materials can reach in the history of architecture, seemed to have been defeated by humankind over time. Today, nature has pushed the earth as a building materials in the front of human beings again. Our works combines the perceptions, questioning and thinking of the earth as a building materials with form. We believe that adobe, earth and brick are one, that give birth to each other. Each of the group questioned the earth materials with different manifesto and experienced this idea with form.
Set out with directions that disobeys person is aesthetic, an animate entity and can also arrive today. While creating our form, we handled it with the knowledge that life requires order, not a random stockings. In doing so, we took into account the basic requirements of life. While creating our design, we did not consider the past completely, but also include the necessity of today. This work is a union of modernity and tradition. We awakened the Adobe with technology. We made it live. We give the Adobe to the future. Then it will stay on the ground. How it is so made.
The goal of our work to examine tactility in production through the concepts of body, sensation, fluidity and dynamism, and to observe the effects of tactility on the final product. At the same time, it is to grasp the importance of the material, essence of the soil, to turn it into a state that it has never known, to leave the state of being on its own, to keep it from its hard and rigid norms, and to make it fluid and mobile.
We aim to separate mud brick and brick materials formally and combine them in a spiritual dimension through sensory and tactile experience, considering that flexibility should be questioned on the one hand and the boundaries of the material should be challenged.
We followed an experimental route while observing the effect of tactility on the final product. Using mud brick and brick containing the essence of soil, we embody the concept of tactility with the stages of approaching, flowing, and coming together in the two result products created by two different subjects with the same feelings in two different.
Fact that final product of two subjects who has similar ideas and feelings is different from each other. We saw that even though the essence of the materials is the same, but the difference of the characters they carry takes a different turn when they are transferred to forms through the concepts of border and freedom.
We had a lot of fun while working this workshop. An online education, we realized that we were able to transform materials into body by communicating remotely and transferring feelings and ideas to each other by sensory touch rather than sensual touch, and we call it the symbiotic touch.
person coming from the earth comes into existence with his first breath and returns to the earth when he reaches the end of his breath. Life consists of one breath in a cycle. The material that goes from soil to adobe, from adobe to brick, returns to the soil when its function ceases, like an endless bedding cycle through life. Well, can't this rigid material create curvilinear shapes that remind nature? We created the concept of building that coming from the soil by using brick material. Our design represents earth material and bread in a loop.
We discussed the cyclical similarity of Adobe and life. There are specific stages in our life. We are born, grow, develop, and die. We are in a certain evolution. This is true for Adobe. When we add material into the soil, there is evolution and cycles. In short, life has a beginning and an end. Time is unlimited. What ends is just life. Cycle of time continues.
We can define this unlimitedness as sustainability. For example, a dog, his life comes to an end and he begins to wait for the moment when he will rejoin the ground. Maybe it can be a structure again, could be an item, or could be an area where a plant would find life. Isn't it that actually human beings is buried in the soil, is begin to rot, various gases emerge. It becomes a food source for insects. It becomes food for the soil, and this way plants come to life. A dog and human may one day lose its structural form but always find their way in unlimited time.
Throughout human life, each human tries to find answers to many questions about the environment and himself. He wants to make his existence meaningful and find a place in the universe. Where exactly are we as human beings and what is our purpose? Throughout history, many civilizations have attributed different values and meanings to nature. Some stopped fighting and tried to find its meaning. On the other side, some thought nature was just a tool and built their relationship on their interests. Whatever the meaning is, the only truth is that nature exists somehow and reacts according to its conditions. The important question is, will we evaluate what Mother Nature has given us, or will we accept ourselves as a part of this whole nature? When we look at this concept of place, we feel that the soil creates an interaction between human memory and nature. Regardless of which point the form is viewed from, different display status is aimed at breaking the perceptions. Materials are a part of nature and its orientation to nature is inevitable. While the organic form represents the integrity of the natural environment, the rational form represents the artificial environment. The elevations in the organic form are not flattened, maintains its continuity within itself. The artificial environment is flattened. The movement of the artificial environment within its internal order and its overflow in places show that it can create different perceptions from different points of view.
Thinking of the material itself or as in a single state makes it non-functional. We completely reject this understanding. We accept the state of the adobe as a material preferred to be used in cubic forms as the thesis of our dialectic in our representation and make its sub-representation into base of our main dialectic. By taking an opposite approach to that thesis, first we present our antithesis, testing the adobe as a material on a bioform. Then we break, split, and correct the bioform. We take out a composition from geometric form, a gradal system, a fiction. We emphasize that we can use Adobe with tiny sections in a gradal system. Thus, it creates our new thesis. Therefore, we are examining and questioning the conditions Adobe can take as a material and presenting our synthesis over the entire representation. While doing this, we act with some aesthetic concerns such as light, shadow, texture, structure, balance, solid-void ratio, and the rhythm. To sum up, what we want to do consists of assertive triangles which are built on two contours. One of these contours is the testing of Adobe on organic forms, and the other one is the testing on cubic forms used in usual sections and functions. We are trying, observing, believing, and checking the results. That's all we do.
We are living in an era where time flows and all balance can be upside down in less than no time. The world is crumbling and falling apart.
Under circumstances which hurt the society and the individual, we are going back where everything started, to our own nature. We can see that when we live within strict rules, we are actually experiencing more than the established patterns.
We feel the differences of a society that looks like a whole, and we can resist disintegration thanks to the power arising from these differences. What matters is, how do we draw conclusions from these breakdowns and how we direct our lives afterwards.
Our work represents any section of a life cycle by questioning how we can maintain our own cycle in this infinite loop, how a form which is called rigid can become flexible, and the importance of returning to the essence.